Good morning, everyone. I hope everybody is doing well today. Today's guest is Dr. Lynda Barnes, also known as the Aligner and Success Doctor. She is a faith-based developer, business loan broker, AI consultant, author, speaker, and AI software developer who helps purpose-driven entrepreneurs align their calling with real strategy and structure. Today, through her through her Shael movement and business ecosystem, Dr. Barnes empowers women leaders, coaches, ministry leaders, and business owners to their gifts, ideas, and expertise into impactful businesses that create income, influence, and generational legacy. Her work uniquely blends faith, psychology, business development, and funding strategies and artificial intelligence to help other businesses build growth and scale through clarity and purpose. Everyone, welcome Dr. Lynda Barnes. How are you today?
Hello, hello, hello. I am so excited and I'm doing so good.
Good. I'm so happy to have you here today. And so, for my first question, you're known as the aligner and success doctor. What
Mhm.
inspired your mission to help purpose driven entrepreneurs align faith, purpose, and business strategy?
First off, I think it's a calling.
Mhm.
Back when I was mainly in my mental health business, I had a lot of clients that were asking me on the side, well, how did you get into business? Because I had other businesses as well before I got
Mhm.
into the mental health space.
Mhm.
And a lot of them were coming to me, well, how can I do this in my, like, how could I start this? How can I do this? And I was actually going through like a transition in growth in my business as well.
Mhm.
So I started diving into structuring and how to structure my business for the growth,
Mhm.
which should have been done from the get go, but it wasn't. So I
Mhm.
learned some lessons there. And, just a lot of people asking me, well, I see you in business, how you started your business, how you did this and how you did that. So that's where it stems from and inspired me
Mhm.
to step into business. I am a third, fourth generation entrepreneur. So
Mhm.
business, I say, runs through my blood. So,
Mhm.
it comes a little natural to me because I've seen my parents and my grandparents do it. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think that's where the inspiration comes from.
Okay. And is your businesses the same as what they have?
Definitely not. My grandparents owned restaurants, bakeries, and my parents owned like a auto body repair shop. My dad owned an auto body repair shop, and my mom and my dad actually did like upholstery and interior decorating and design.
Mhm.
And then now my mom actually inherited my grandparents' business as well.
Okay, wow. So yeah, you did take a different path when it came to the business ownership, so and that's good.
Yeah, I still do help them in
Mhm.
their business as time's go on and they're older. So
Mhm.
me as a business developer give them insight into different things they could innovate in the business as well.
Okay, awesome. And so your work blends faith, psychology, and AI, funding strategies, and business development. How do you help entrepreneurs turn their gifts and ideas into profitable, impactful businesses?
First, I go through prayer. Anytime I meet with someone, I go through
Mhm.
prayer just so I could get insight
Okay.
into, once they give me their ideas, I pray about it, see what
Mhm.
insight I get, and then I put on the strategy hat and the business developer hat as to how can we make this profitable. If they come to me with multiple businesses, I decide which one would be most profitable first
Mhm.
and put them in a order and give them like a structured plan of how to
Mhm.
go about implementing those things, to either start or grow the business as well as scaling.
Okay. And you know what? A lot of people, I love how you said you start out with prayer, because a lot of people they have the ideas, but it's like a lot of people go with the mindset that I have the idea, I'm gonna build it overnight. And that's without having that plan and that structure, you see a lot of businesses, they open and close, within 90 days, sometimes within a year, and it's just being able to now, help people in this place. So I love that you use prayer first,
Yes.
with helping them, and yeah, because it's definitely important. Is more important than we ever could realize. I know even for myself, because I know for myself, I would open up stuff and I'm like, you know what? And I wasn't the person that would be like, I need to, I need to pray about this first. But then as time progressed, with careers and everything, I said, ooh, I need to ask for direction.
Yes.
Because I'm all over the place. And when you all over the place and don't have clarity, that don't make that don't make sense with an S, and it don't make sense with a C when it comes to that finance part. Because I'm all about making sense and sense,
Mm-hmm.
at this point. And so I love it. And so I know AI is changing the business world quickly. What advice would you give entrepreneurs and leaders who are afraid or hesitant to embrace AI? And what led you to I guess collaborate it together?
So it's very important to stay on top of different innovations that's happening in different industries, and AI has
Mhm.
taken over almost every industry. So
Mhm.
in order for you to stay profitable
Mhm.
and up to date in your business, is it's time to start learning of how AI could actually help your business. And
Mhm.
it started with me getting into automations because I have multiple businesses. I started
Mhm.
getting into ways to make it easier for me to manage all those
Mhm.
businesses. And then
Mhm.
I started creating automations and bots and different things to help me in my business. And then
Mhm.
ultimately, one couple, like a year ago, I got actually paralyzed on one side, and that I took that time to dive straight into AI. So I know if you go
Okay.
through my timeline, you'll see a period where I was just using just AI for
Mhm.
content
Okay.
creation and things like that. And
Mhm.
basically that's what happened. I went through a period where I couldn't really move my right side. So I took that
Okay.
time to study what was changing in AI and use how I could
Mhm.
use it in my business and implement it there. And then from
Mhm.
there, I actually went into vibe coding and app creation as
I was
well.
going to ask you about that because all of every when it comes to AI, all of this is like really interesting to me and intriguing. It was so funny because I was at work the other day and I somebody asked me for some information. I gave them what they asked for, right? I didn't go on AI. I just gave it, you know. Oh, and so the person, and she's in her 70s, and she came to me with her with her laptop, and she's like, "I want to show you how to use AI to create." I said, Miss, I'm certified in AI already, right? And she looked at me. She said, "You are?" I said, "Yeah." Well, why didn't you? I said, "I didn't do it because I gave you what you asked." I said, if you wanted me to go in depth and give you a whole, I would have gave that to you. I said, but then I would have gave you stuff that you can't understand because I'm so detailed and you're so basic. I said, not to be disrespectful, but and it was just like trying to, help her understand. I'm like, no, I know this. You have to be descriptive on what it is you want. But I love that whole I love AI. I was using AI before AI became a thing.
Thing.
And it's like the first platform I was using was Quillbot. Quillbot was out in, I guess, before, I guess, like, what was this? I guess like 2021, 2022-ish. It came out, and I was using that to help me with reframing paragraphs for essays and stuff for my doctoral program. And so I had no idea. Look, I knew it was artificial intelligence, but let me tell you, I wasn't paying attention to that. I was just like, oh, I found a resource that's helping me. And I just looked at it as that. But like now, here we are, 2026, and I look at how it is evolving. I definitely want to know more. And I know the audience wants to know more about the AI software developing and the vibe coding that you've been using. And if you could break that down for us, to exactly what is vibe coding.
So I've always been a techie, and for a long time, I've built computers back in my younger days, and
Mm.
never got really into the tech side of things.
Mhm.
So when I went through that period where I was researching, all the AI, during the process of also getting certified, I found vibe coding.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me down that rabbit hole, and I just started creating a small little app just for things to help me in my business. And it evolved into like a software which is called the Shail HQ, which it
Yes.
has basically like you could do invoicing, proposals, email marketing, I mean everything you could think of, accounting in there. It has so many things in there. And then I also implemented my frameworks in it as well. So
Okay.
where I talk about the bead formula and the Shail operating system in there, is where we'll
Mm-hmm.
talk about your temple, oil, covenant, and territory. The
Mm-hmm.
bead is believe, expect, act, and declare. So yeah, it was just so easy just to just speak what you want into
Mm-hmm.
the app, and it
Mm-hmm.
gives you what you want, and it creates an app from it. So it was very interesting to me, and I still add stuff to it every day. I go in there and I said, let me see if I could add tweak this, tweak that.
Look,
to
as and it's so funny because you addressed one question I already had. So about the bead formula, because when I was reading your book, I was like, "Ooh, I like that," you know. But it's like so funny as you were talking about the Shael. I'm like, what you have is similar to a honey book.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
sounds like,
Mhm.
And so is it a monthly subscription on the Shael?
Yes, it is. It is a
Okay.
monthly subscription, but it does way more than HoneyBook. Because when I
I'm
initially
sure
went
everything I'm
in,
hearing you saying, look,
yeah, when I
everything you
went in,
saying,
I
it
was like,
sounds way more.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, it does a lot. It does a lot. You can actually create content in there as well.
Okay.
It's just a wide range of things, and basically, I wanted to create an all-in-one hub, and then
Mm-hmm.
for people that actually have ministry, because I love blending and fusing ministry, mission-based, and
Mm-hmm.
marketplace businesses because that's what
Mm-hmm.
I have. So when
Right.
I created, like I said, I created with me in mind first, but there's other people just like me. So you could actually go in there and create a tab for your ministry, for your mission-based business, and for your
Mm-hmm.
marketplace business. And then mission based is just nonprofits, and you can actually do donor management and different things like that in there as
Oh
well.
my God. Let me tell you, Dr. Barnes, I am loving, loving, loving this. And so, can do people have to have a membership? Because I do know you have a membership program
Yeah,
also where
yes.
you do business coaching and business strategy planning with people. And I know, I definitely want to talk about the funding program that you have as well. Do you have to be in a membership to subscribe to Shael?
No, it works both ways. When you are a member, a part
Hmm.
of my program, you do get the Shail HQ, but you
Okay.
also could have a standalone subscription as well without the membership.
Okay. And that information is on your website?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, awesome. People, everyone, you see the website is at the bottom, but also if you have your phones or tablets available, we have the QR code in the corner where you can scan the QR code and get Dr. Barnes's information. It'll link you straight to her website. Oh my goodness. So, next is about the funding. How did you get into helping people secure funding? And because business credit is something that so many people have questions about right now, because there's been people, businesses I know that have been in business for numerous years that
Mhm.
have not received any type of business funding or business credit cards or anything. And it's like having conversations because I do business coaching also, and I do it with mainly a lot of startup businesses or people who have products they trying to bring to fruition. So I help them with getting their products actually launched. And with talking to them, it's like they're like, I can't secure funding. So how did you get into that?
So I'm I'm in the construction space with my husband.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So we in construction usually front a job first, and then you get
Mm-hmm.
paid 30, 60, 90 days back on the back end.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So as we were growing, we had a project come up that we were like, listen, we can't front this at this big,
Mm-hmm.
this big of a project. So
Right.
we started looking into getting funding. At the time, God works in mysterious ways. I had an email pop up about becoming a business loan broker, and I didn't really
Mm.
see the need at the time, but it
Right.
came up. Then few months after that, after we had gained funding, the
Mm-hmm.
email pops up again, and
Mm-hmm.
dealing with the people that actually help you get funding, it became interesting to me. And then the email popped
Mm-hmm.
up again, so then I went ahead and signed up. Things
Okay.
happened, I got diagnosed, whatever, and then business kept growing, and we kept
Mm-hmm.
needing funding. And
Okay.
then we within the last year, we had another growth where we needed more funding, and I was like, you know what, I went back and I was like, I actually paid a down payment to this program to become a funder back
Mm-hmm.
in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I went back to it, and then the program price was definitely way more. They were like, well, your down payment at that time, the price was this, the price is now this. And I was like, you know what, I'm willing to,
You want to do it?
get the training to become a
Mm-hmm.
business loan broker. And then my husband was actually my first client, and actually got him funded. And then I started promoting, about getting the business funding and learning about business credit and all that stuff, which I
Mm-hmm.
already knew a lot from,
Mm-hmm.
being in business,
Right.
but just knowing the back end and what it really entails, and then start going
Mm-hmm.
to the banks and asking them questions, because as
Mm-hmm.
you grow, you get in your business, as you grow, you get your banks, business
Mm-hmm.
relationship specialists and different things like
Mm-hmm.
that. And I just started going in there and asking them a lot of questions, and I know they're probably like,
Mm-hmm.
why is she asking us all these questions? But
Mm-hmm.
I asked a lot of questions, took notes plus training. And
Mm-hmm.
it's the exciting part of business to know that you can actually start your business, grow your business, and scale your business without using your own money.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yes.
and a lot of people don't know that.
That is the piece that a lot of people are missing,
Yes.
and because a lot of people think, oh, you have to have this. And I think I'm gonna say it comes off of the franchise mindset
Hmm.
is what I like to call that. Because when people start thinking, oh, I need this, I need at least 5,000 or at
Right.
least 10,000, that whole franchise mindset where they see, whether it's in media or speaking to someone, oh, well, if I start a business, yeah, well, if you give me 10,000, I can, and I think that's where people think they have to have, all of this, excessive amounts of money to start their businesses, you
And
know.
and with
Mhm.
the funding, my actual first interaction with getting funding was in my
Mhm.
mental health business. During the period, I think it was back in 2012,
Mhm.
when the government shifted from straight Medicaid to HMOs and PPOs.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
actually had to go in to get funding to sustain the business,
Mhm.
because they wasn't processing claims as they
Right.
would normally. So
Mhm.
that was my first interaction with business funding. And I was recently, my God brought it back to my memory, like, your first interaction with funding was actually back then, but you didn't realize what it was.
Mhm.
And then,
Right.
yeah, so it's a very interesting area, and I love working in that area. And that's why I tie the structuring part, because when I went in and asked
Mhm.
all those questions, at first we
Mhm.
were getting denied for funding. And I was like, well, we're making XYZ. Why are we getting denied? And
Mhm.
started asking those questions to those bankers, and I start realizing, hey, the structure really has a lot to do with how how you're set up, how your NAS code and all of that, how that
Mhm.
affects your business funding, your personal credit, and things like
Mhm.
that. So yeah.
Yeah, this is definitely, a conversation to be had with all, about that, because so many people have so many different misconceptions about that. So I'm glad that you actually are addressing these issues, because so many people, really need to know, about all this. And so with everything that you do, you are also an accomplished author. Yeah. So, what inspired you to write your books, and what messages do you hope your readers take away? Because let me tell you, I'm loving this one before you get started. The 30 Days to Awakening Strength, Identity, and Kingdom Impact, Shael, the Women of Valor. This is a journal. And I totally love this. I took it. I went to Houston this past week, and I weekend actually, and I took it with me so that I can peruse through. And I was like, oh my goodness! And it was just like I have the Bible app, so I put in different entrepreneurships and things like that. I specialize in anger management as a therapist, anger, all of these things in. But I'm this right here. This is my new go to. I just want you to know.
Thank you. Thank you. It all started with a vision from God, where I felt and embodied the Shia woman herself.
Hmm.
So, you know, the last couple of months, first of all, in 2025, in 2024, God kept telling me to prepare, to prepare, to prepare, and just kept giving me ideas of different things to come. And I actually sat on a lot of them until He gave me the okay to put things out. And the Shia movement was one of them.
Hmm.
And then I started the movement, and then it created, I started writing the book. And I
Hmm.
know my story reflects what a Shia woman is. So I
Hmm.
used my story with the Bible and what the
Hmm.
meaning of Shia, strength, valor, a woman of wealth, an army by herself, like those
Hmm.
different words to exemplify myself
Hmm.
in my story. So that would inspire the book, The Making of the Shia Woman. The devotional, I researched the women of the Bible
Hmm.
and everything that they went through and what they did, and made it a 30-day devotional so you could actually identify with which woman in the Bible you are. And you could
Hmm.
journal about each one. So
Hmm.
that's my inspiration behind the books, basically.
Yeah, I love it. Like I said, I took it with me, and I'm like on the plane, like reading through it. I'm just like, oh my goodness. And
Yeah.
I don't like the writing books, so I just be like, let me get my little notepad. And I was like going through, and I was just like, okay. I'm like, I'm really, really enjoying this. I'm really enjoying this.
Yes.
You
And then
know.
in the Making of the Shia Woman, it actually talks about
Mm-hmm.
my story where I built my multiple seven-figure business, lost it, lost my identity because my identity was wrapped up in the success of the business,
Mm-hmm.
how God took me through a process,
Mm-hmm.
because I almost took myself out of here, you know,
Okay.
and
Mm-hmm.
like that's where the bead formula was created,
Mm-hmm.
and the Shio operating system along with that, which is also talked about
Mm-hmm.
in the book, the different frameworks.
Yes, chapter
Yeah.
14.
So it talks about the rise, the fall, the rebuild, and the
Mm-hmm.
growth and the scaling currently, and how, God took me through that, my faith and God took me through that process, and the
Mm-hmm.
frameworks and how you could implement same processes as well.
Yeah, it's when we look at things that happen to us that takes us, we definitely at times need a mindset shift. We need a reality, we need an awakening. Because sometimes so many things is happening in our lives at one time, and sometimes we lose sight of the focus.
Right.
And it's just like, and we say things out loud,
Mhm.
but then as we saying them, we're like, yeah, we saying it, we believe what we saying at that moment, but then we have a setback. And I tell people, setbacks is not a set up for failure. A setback is just for you to start being able to take yourself to a pause so
Yes.
that you can realize what you need to do right now. Now it's time to get your alignment together, right? And now, and I know you the aligner and the success doctor, and it's just being able to now start really horning in on what do I need to do to align myself. And I know for me, I had a come to Jesus meeting with myself last year, in 2025, about things that was happening in my businesses and in my life and everything, and it was just like, I'm gonna tell you, I had to bring myself back to reality on so many levels, personally as well as professionally. And after I had that meeting with myself and God, child, everything started. When I say everything started opening up, everything opened up. And and sometimes we have to sit and be still
Right.
for those things to happen, you know? And so I love how you put your journey and everything that you experienced in the making of a Shael woman. And I know both of these books that you have, The Woman of Valor, as well as The Making of the Shael Woman, both of these are definitely a tool that all of you ladies should have out there, right? And I'm gonna tell y'all, y'all know it's been a long time since I gave away things on my show, but y'all know to the first two, I'll do three. For the first three women who reach out to me, I will send them copies of both of these books because I want to get y'all started on the journey to a better you. And so for the first three people that send me a DM, whether on Instagram or Facebook, or even if you send a DM to Dr. Barnes, she'll reach out to me, and I will, and I'll definitely get those books sent out to all to those three people because I'm all about building people up and making sure that we good.
Yes. Yeah, we definitely need to be aligned. I definitely had to get back in alignment. I talk about getting up getting up off the bathroom floor after trying to take myself out of here, and God
Mhm.
just really spoke to me and was like, "The vision I gave you is still the same. Nothing has
Mhm.
changed. That was just a detour that happened. You need to get back in alignment with what I called you to do." And
Mhm.
after that, I really try to stay in alignment even though
Mhm.
distractions happen and life
Mhm.
happens. We
Mhm.
tend to separate life and business
Mhm.
in our mindset, but in
Mhm.
reality our ecosystem is one.
Right.
So we have to look at it that way, and we have to
Mhm.
keep everything in alignment for
Mhm.
for substantial growth and things
Right.
like that to happen. So I
Mhm.
had to learn to get back in alignment and stay in alignment because
Mhm.
life does happen.
It really does. And it's being able to, we have to learn how to pivot
Yes.
when that happens. But what I've learned with pivoting and, being a therapist for the amount of time I've been one, people don't like change. And that's where the pivot becomes a problem because people are so stuck in their ways that it's like, yo, you have to change. You have to change something, either change your mindset or change how change your mindset or change the direction, change what you're doing, change who you're around because we do know that plays a big role on how people respond to various situations as well.
Hmm.
You
Definitely
know.
is. Yeah, you definitely have to shift that mindset, and that's where the bead formula comes in. Because what you
Mhm.
believe um, affects what you expect. You can't
Mhm.
expect but not
Mhm.
believe what you're expecting. And then the
Mhm.
action part of it is like you have to take the action for what you're believing and what you're expecting. And then you have to
Mhm.
definitely declare that over yourself, over your business, over your life, whatever you're believing, expecting, and you're taking that action, you need to declare that thing to happen in
Mhm.
order for for the to flow
Mhm.
together. So that's the explanation of the bead formula. And I
Mhm.
live by that every day. I bead, I wake up and I check my belief system, what I'm
Mhm.
expecting to happen for the day, and then I take those
Mhm.
actions to make it happen. It could be for the small goal or for the bigger goal. I take those
Mhm.
necessary steps to gradually make it happen. Or if it's a
Mhm.
small thing, I take that necessary step to make that happen for the day. But it's definitely necessary.
Right, you're right about that. Because I work with children, and I tell them all the time with post secondary readiness, and I tell them all the time, I'm like, I want you to start speaking positivity into existence in your lives. Right, I'm like, y'all want jobs for the summer, you want to go to college later on. I'm like, let's start speaking all of this into existence. We going to talk about things. I say, if you want something bad enough, I want you to say, when and I had a young man come to me the other day because I told him, I said, what job you want? And he told me he had two interviews. So I said, so what I want you to say, well, when I start working at and put the in, I said, but let me ask you another question. Are you ready?
Yeah.
I said, because at the end of the day, I want you to make sure that you pray that whatever you're ready for, that you are ready to do this. And he was like, I pray every day and I'm ready. And he went to that interview and got that job.
Yes, yes, yes.
And they gave him $2 more because he came with a resume. And
Whoa,
I said,
yeah.
me and his teacher worked with him to take a resume with him, and he was like, they gave me $2 more because I had a resume. I
Mhm.
started laughing. But this is, and I was like, that's great. I'm like, oh my God. I said, $15 an hour and you're only in
Wow,
11th grade. This
that,
works. I said, this is awesome. And he was so excited. He's like, if it wasn't for y'all telling me, be positive, speak it in existence, I wouldn't have got this. I said, yeah. I said,
yes. It is, I understand the vision board. The vision
uh-huh.
boarding it's definitely a part of, shifting the belief system, but just doing a vision board is not just it.
It's bigger
Um,
than that.
it's bigger. So you need, yes, you can visualize and create your vision
Mhm,
boards and things like that. I have a
mhm,
vision board graphic on my phone right now, and
mhm.
literally almost everything has come to pass on it. But
Okay.
it doesn't just take me looking at the picture at my phone every time my phone vibrates or whatever. It
Mhm,
actually takes me doing the bead formula. So I call it beading to actually,
mhm.
make it happen. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that you said that, because so many people, they create division boards and they don't go back to them and they forget about them and they're like, oh yeah, I did do that. Oh yeah, I did. But it's just like they put things on the board, but again, I don't think they beated it. I don't think they beat it. I don't know what they did, but it was, I think, no, I'm gonna say I do know what they did. They based off of what they wanted. They based it off of wants, not really seeing what they what they really need.
Mhm.
Because because a lot of people, I want the big house, I want this, I want that. But it's just like, okay, but what do you really need?
Yes.
What is aligned with you?
Right.
With your personality, because see, you basing it off of what other people have because they looking at social media,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know, and
It's
I know
yeah.
it looks like you got so much you can say.
Yes, I do. But because usually they tend to put the things they want, but not
Mhm,
visualize the things they need to do to actually get the things they want on the board.
mhm. That
So for
part.
me, I put everything on there. Like, okay, I
Mhm,
want this. Well, I need to do this, this, and this, and I have it all on that screen saver that I know
mhm,
I have to remind myself. Okay, well, I have to do this, and then in addition to that, beading, and then in addition to that, I'm also having checklists and timers and different things. Well,
mhm,
if I want this to happen in my business, well, I set a time to actually do that thing in my business.
mhm,
I
mhm.
don't just look at the screen and say, okay, oh my, I have wishful thinking that it's going to happen. I'm actually believing, expecting, taking action, and declaring what I want to happen.
And but believe it or not, that's the appropriate way to do it.
Yes.
But it's like, when people actually, have these vision board parties, that's not what's happening.
Right.
It's like they look more for the social and party
Right.
aspect more so than realizing the therapeutic way of handling,
Yes.
what it really getting really in depth with the vision board, and being able to do manifest what they want and looking at how I'm going to get it, and so I think, Dr. Barnes, this is the curation of a new event right here. If it's a vision board, look, we're gonna do an intentional board. How about
Right.
that? And how you gonna intend to handle this. You could do a vision board, but we're going to do it where you only select three things that you're going to work on. And the reason I see it three was because now we got to be strategic.
Right.
That vision board be having a million things on it. It take 30 years to complete.
Oh man, that's so true. That's so true. And getting back to the funding part,
Mhm,
because funding can expedite a lot of things.
Yes.
because
Mm-hmm.
especially when it comes to the growth in your business. So, a lot of people, they yes, they vision board and they expect, and they want these things
Mm-hmm.
to happen, but it is actually possible. And you could get there much faster by, well, number one, getting a mentor or coach, and
Mm-hmm.
then actually getting the funding that you need to start, grow, or scale that business.
Mm-hmm.
And for years, like I said, I was been in business for years,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't until getting the funding to actually scale the business that we actually
Mm-hmm.
seen like exponential growth, especially in the construction
Okay.
field as well. Because
Mm-hmm.
like I said, we was fronting those jobs and just the money was just coming in,
Mm-hmm.
going out, coming in, going out. But until we
Mm-hmm.
actually went to, get the funding and get working capital and all those different things, um, we didn't see the actual growth. We were growing slowly, but until we
Mm-hmm.
got that funding, then we were able to actually contact more people to get
Mm-hmm.
projects and different things like that. So
Okay.
funding definitely plays a intricate part in definitely growing and scaling your
Mm-hmm.
business that a
Oh,
lot of people don't know about.
definitely. And with society being where it is today, what makes someone's fundable in today's business world? We see all of the different changes and stuff that's happening, and so how is that impacting people like right now with get obtaining funding?
Funding starts with structure,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to learn that.
Mm-hmm.
In my consulting business, I started with a LLC
Mm-hmm.
and kept trying to figure out, well, why am I getting denied? My credit is good,
Mm-hmm.
business is good, it's bringing in income. Why am I not getting funding? And like
Mm-hmm.
I said, I went to those business, the bank business relationship partners, and I started asking questions. We're like, well,
Mm-hmm.
your LLC, you file it on your personal tax, just different things like that. So you don't know specifically why you're getting denied. But sometimes they usually start with structure and things like
Okay.
not having a business phone number, not having a business address. Even though you're home
Mm.
based, you need to have a business phone number, a business address, and a business email. You have to have
Mm-hmm.
online presence. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you're asking for 50,000 in funding, but where's your business online? So no branding, no social
Mm-hmm.
media, no website. Because
Mm-hmm.
they tend to research, underwriting tends to research your business before they give you funding.
Right.
So you have to establish your structure correctly,
Mm-hmm.
establish your social media or online presence, make sure you have
Mm-hmm.
that business phone number, business
Mm-hmm.
address, and your business email. And those are one of the key components to
Mm-hmm.
actually getting approved. Most business funders look at your personal credit. So you have to have
Yes.
definitely have a credit score of
Mm-hmm.
between 640 to 650, 680 up and above when
Okay.
you're definitely dealing with startup funding.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
yes, startup funding could get funded from the get go, but you just have to have the credit score
Mm-hmm.
to be able to get that type of funding out the gate.
Okay.
Um, and then if your business is growing or scaling, they look at the full picture. How much money you're
Mm-hmm.
bringing in, how much money is going out. If you
Mm-hmm.
could actually afford to, make those payments back and different things like that. They
Mm-hmm.
look at the full picture, but it
Right.
definitely starts with the structure of your business.
Okay.
That's where
Yeah.
I love teaching and getting into the structure because somebody tells you, oh, you see this LLC, 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 and in reality, on the IRS website, an LLC is a disregarded entity,
Mm-hmm.
meaning it's not on the federal level. It's not even a business. So
Okay. Mm-hmm.
yeah,
And
so
and so you recommend people going to getting changing the LLCs into S corps, or
S corps, or I prefer just go corporation out the gate.
you said corporation
Out the
update
gate.
out the gate? Oh,
Right.
okay.
So if you have an LLC, you could definitely convert it to a corporation.
Mm-hmm.
Because corporations are standalone entities and it's easier to
Mm-hmm.
fund. They don't give you a lot of hassle with your documentation and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's just easier for the banks to look at and say, okay, well, they took their business serious. The LLC, they look at it now, they want all kind of documentation. They want to make sure that, dot all the I's, cross all the
Mm-hmm.
T's and all that stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just definitely easier to fund a corporation versus, a LLC. especially
Okay.
if you're filing it with your personal tax.
Right.
That's
Right.
another
And
part.
so yeah, so now is if you have an LLC, being able to separate it from the personal tax and leave the personal tax one way and the LLC somewhere
Yes,
with
because
another tax return.
that definitely opens you up, especially if you're filing with your personal tax. It opens you up
Hmm.
for personal liability to the
Okay.
business.
Right.
No,
Right.
so yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Look, I appreciate this conversation. This was good this morning. Look, for Memorial Day, we have a Memorial Day mentions of how to run your business, how to successfully fund the business, how to, look, we all have to stay prayed up and
Yes.
being able to align our businesses with our spirituality as well. I do love this conversation with you this morning, Dr. Barnes, and I don't want to take up too much more of your time. What's next on the horizon for you?
Oh, I have a few speaking engagements coming up, but more so, I am going to be launching my Build Your Empire
Mm-hmm.
live. A tentative date of October is coming up. So I'll be,
Okay.
I'm going to be putting out information for that coming up. Also, I have my Build Your Empire program as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's going to be I'm going to have cohorts. So my first cohort is coming up real soon. Also, that will be put on my website as well. The Build
Okay.
Your Empire Live will,
Mm-hmm.
will be in Idaho.
Oh,
And
wow.
yes, and we're actually going to take you through the process of helping you figure out what structure you need, because I don't just structure for funding. I actually structure for legacy building.
Okay.
So where I talk about the Trinity structure, where it talks about the holding
Mm-hmm.
company, your parent company, your operational companies, and then your mission based businesses, which is under the nonprofit. And then if
Mm-hmm.
you want to go a tier higher, we could add trust and things like that to your business to protect you and
Mm-hmm.
actually help you, put away for legacy building. Um, in that one setting, it's going to be a 2-day workshop
Okay.
in October. And yeah,
So, what made you choose Idaho?
I have partners that I'm working with in Idaho.
I love that because people look at me like I'm crazy because I have business partners that I work with in Louisiana, and I have people that I work with in Texas. I have partners in both of those states, and people look at me like, well, why ain't you? No. So, do you have to be a member of your membership to attend the event in October?
No, you don't. That ticket information will be coming out roughly around July. So
Okay.
just stay tuned for that.
Look, I want you gonna definitely have to give. I need those dates, and I'm hoping, praying that I'm available because this is how I'm trying to see other parts of the United States. I want to my thing is I'm intentional about the things that I've been doing over the past since 2024 to present. I'm being more intentional and strategic about things that I am attending. I love your movement. I've been following you for a number of, for a while.
Yes.
We were connected through Lily May, and I've been, following you for some years now. So it's not like, like we might not have talked to now, but so I definitely want to be in the loop on the event in Idaho.
Yes.
Cause look, baby, I might have to come out there and see what's
Yeah.
going
I'm
on.
so excited for that event. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
gonna be it. You're gonna leave with a 90-day plan for your business,
Okay.
and maybe funding if you're ready to get funded, and I could connect you with funders right there on the spot. You'll probably leave with funding as well.
Wow. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to it, and I'm crossing my fingers and praying that it works with my schedule for October. And so let me ask one more question. What are you doing for you? For self-care. How are you managing your self-care? Because you're out here, you're helping everybody out here on these streets, making sure they're good. But how are you making sure that you're good? Because I know you have a background in mental health as well, right?
Yes, yes, I do. I'm ex licensed psychologist. So I definitely take my time to myself. I read a lot. I go to spas. I have spa dates, massage dates, because I'm also diagnosed with lupus and
Mhm.
also intracranial hypertension,
Okay.
idiopathic intracranial hypertension, which is pressure on the brain. So
Okay.
I definitely have to take my time to myself and rest.
Mhm.
And in those days, I just say, listen, I don't care what's going on in business or family life. I'm
Mhm.
going to take that rest because I know, how to protect my temple, how to protect my
Mhm.
body. So I'm not pushing it past those points like I used to before. Where I used to
Mhm.
push past, then crash,
Yes.
and like the
Mm.
next morning, or I can't wake up, and then I'm down for another week, and then I have to try to rebuild myself and pull myself out of that week. So no, I start taking intentional times for rest,
Mhm.
so I could rejuvenate and refresh my body, my mind, and things like that.
Look, that's awesome. Look, I'm glad you do take that time because we definitely need it. This was an awesome, awesome meeting this morning.
Yes, I love it. I love it.
We definitely, you are a friend of Tyra's Just Saying, and I welcome you to come back here anytime that you want to talk about your business, talk about your events and everything that you have happening, move anytime, and I definitely will be promoting all of your events on my pages so
Thank you.
that everybody is aware of all of the things that's happening out here, all of these events and everything.
Thank
And anything you need, you definitely, you're welcome to reach out to me anytime. You have my support.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you so much for having me. I look forward to our collaborations and partnerships. And I just want to
Yes.
say thank you again for having me.
Thank you so much for coming, and God bless you and everything that you're doing.
And I
Everyone,
just want to say God bless
yeah,
to
go
the
ahead.
women that are watching, or everyone that's watching. And thanks for, watching and showing up.
Yes, and make sure y'all send me that DM so I can get the books out to you. Because again, ladies, the three ladies that, at the end of the day, y'all need this. This is something, something that I feel that you need to get started with, helping you with yourself, with where you're headed, whether it's with your business or other goals that you're trying to achieve. So thank you so much, Dr. Barnes, and I want you to have an awesome day and an awesome week. Everyone, thank you all for tuning in to this episode of Tyra's Just Saying, and I will be seeing all of you next week. I guess I'm gonna go live from the Roots Picnic. All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.